Hey, welcome to No Tracers. I'm your host, K, just the letter K. I'm known as No.Tracers. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, everywhere. I'm on all the social media platforms. But hey, let's get into the show. What do you say? Step into the world of decay, abandonment, and chaos. The story of an urban explorer starts here at the beginning. Welcome to the podcast you've been looking for all along. This is No Tracers. Here, we take only photos. We leave only footprints. And remember, leave no trace. So if you're new to the podcast, first of all, thank you for tuning in this week. I'm really excited to have Mr. P Explores on the podcast to share his stories and insight into the world of abandonment and decay. Very excited for this episode. He's got a lot of insight and he's got a lot of, just true, honest to God, like real shit to say. And I appreciate that so very much. Before we get into the show, just a couple things. If you guys haven't picked up a copy of my new book, which is an urban exploring guidebook, go check it out. I have that book and a photography book up on notracers.com. You can go to notracers.com/shop. You can pick up a book. I have merchandise. There's all kinds of cool stuff up there for you guys. If you want to check it out, please do so. It would mean a lot to me to see you support the show in that way. If you want to further support the show, you can pick up a case or 50 cases of Liquid Death mountain water. I know 50 sounds like a lot, but hey, if you manage a bar and you want water, but you don't want to buy plastic water bottles anymore and you want to buy a really badass can of water, check out liquiddeath.com, pick up some water and use code just the letter K at checkout for 10% off your entire order. That helps me out and it helps the podcast out. So if you guys want to support, you can do so that way. Otherwise, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/justthelletterK. You will get early access to my content. Super excited for the future of my content and everything I'm doing. If you're listening to this podcast, it means that I am in Europe with my band. So hopefully exploring some abandoned shit in Europe while I'm over there. But I recorded this back in April, just so you guys are aware of when this podcast was recorded. Definitely check out Mr. P Explores and let's get into the show with him. Can you please introduce yourself and how long you've been exploring to the No Tracers audience?
This is Mr. P Explores. I have been exploring now for almost 4 years. I'm native of Cleveland, Ohio, and I explore a lot of the Northeast and Rust Belt areas, Detroit, Cleveland.
Amazing. So What got you into exploring in the first place? What made you catch this bug?
I've always had it. It goes back to being a kid. I was always that kid that wanted to go into the woods and look for weird stuff. Or if I saw something from the road, I was like, oh, what is that? And as an adult, I was like, oh, no, I can finally do that and not have anybody stop me. So that's kind of where it came from, was from being a kid. Just going out and looking at things, yeah.
That's awesome. That's kind of similar to my story, going out in the woods, finding weird shit like houses and, random camping areas, stuff like that. And
old cars.
I love hearing how people got into it. Can you take me into your first exploration ever?
Oh God. First legit. Let's see. Well, I want to say it goes back to 1999. So way back in the dark ages. My then fiance and I, she is from Lima, Ohio. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Lima Tuberculosis Hospital up there. Familiar with it at all?
I have not.
No, okay.
No.
You're from Tennessee though, right? Is that where you're at, Tennessee?
So I'm in Tennessee. I'm not from here. I just moved here in December, so I'm new to the area.
Got it. Okay. Up in Ohio. It's Western Ohio. Old tuberculosis hospital. Just one of those mysterious places that we're like, oh, we need to check that out. We went back there on New Year's Eve day, and I got the bug then. I just couldn't let it go. And we explored tentatively, because at the time, I hadn't been used to any of that stuff. So we were very scared we were going to get caught and get in trouble and all of that. But you get over that after a while.
Definitely.
How it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes if you haven't done it for a while, and there's a cop circling around, I feel like you get that fear back a little bit. You're like, oh shit, are we gonna get caught this time?
Yeah.
But, after you do it for years, you're like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
Nobody here really gives a shit.
You just lay low.
Yeah,
lay low and be
exactly,
quiet. Yep.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was the first time. Took a decent decade or so off, and then came back when I finally got a camera worth using. A
Yeah,
couple
my
years ago,
next
about
question was
4 years
actually
ago.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, what like when did photography come into play, and what made you want to start documenting this stuff?
not that long ago, actually. We're talking maybe 2018. So not that long ago. I was gifted a camera for Christmas one year. It was just a dinky point and click. My parents had gotten it for me, if my document my kid, growing up, that kind of thing. And I just started going around the local area. We have a ton of old greenhouses and stuff around here. And I just went and figured, well, I'll check it out, and took some pictures, and it went from there. So
Uh, do you have like a preference of like your favorite kind of abandoned place to explore? Like for me, I love churches and hospitals. Those are like my favorite things to explore.
I love them all, but if I had to say, it'd probably be industrial. I crave a good
Okay.
industrial. We got lots of those up
Yeah.
here, so um, anytime I can find a good factory, I'm in. But
Awesome.
yeah.
And then as far as gear goes, like what would be some of your gear recommendations for new explorers that are just getting into the hobby?
Well, definitely a good flashlight. I got a Phoenix model, which is fantastic. It's been through the wash and dryer twice, so it still works perfectly. All right, I would definitely recommend a good flashlight. Shoes, boots are a necessity. You got to have some kind of hard boots. I've stepped on one too many nails at this point to not have something solid. Not the best thing to do in an explorer to get a nail in your foot, but I would definitely recommend good footwear, and just to have a bag that carries all your stuff. Get something big enough. Don't take just a backpack. Get something that you can put your lenses in, and whatever else you got. That's what's not all jumbled up and falling around.
Definitely.
What else? Toilet paper.
Yes. Thank you.
For the obvious reasons, definitely, and a med kit, because you never know.
Yep. Absolutely. And speaking of, med kits, nails in your feet, can you share any urban exploration injury stories with us?
Oh God, too many to count. If I don't come away from an explorer with a scratch or blood running down something, then it wasn't a successful trip. I was exploring the Westinghouse factory in Cleveland. That's where the first nail went into the boot. We were down in the catacombs underneath in the basement, and a bunch of boards had been piled up, and I put my foot square onto a nail, and boom, it was like my friend had to yank it out. It was deep, like into the meat. And with the adrenaline going, it was fine until the next day. Then I couldn't walk, so it hurt.
Yeah, nail in the foot.
Yeah, luckily I just had my shots too, so it wasn't too bad. But it took a while to heal up. It was no fun walking on that for a while. But
yeah, man, the bottom of your feet, that's no joke.
Yeah. The other, I would say the probably the second worst one, and the one where I almost died, was in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's an old laboratory facility that the University of Cincinnati used to run. We were exploring in one of the main lab buildings, and scrappers must have yanked it out, but there was an old, there used to be a water, I can't talk right today, a water fountain. It's been a long day. Water fountain where they had, the pipes had gone down through the floor, and the scrappers had taken all that out. And I didn't see, it was dim enough to walk in there. I didn't see the hole, and my foot went right through, and I just slammed my arm into the wall and almost went down into the basement. The hole was that big. So my friend was like yanking me, pulling me back. I had to, it was a tough one, but
Damn.
That's probably the worst one. That was an adrenaline rush. That was a near death experience. So.
For sure. Yeah. I've luckily, knock on wood, never fallen through a floor or a hole or anything like that. But that is like a huge fear of mine. That, and like the other day I was in this massive abandoned hospital, and
I saw that.
All the elevator shafts were open, so like it was just madness. Like looking down these elevator shafts from the 9th floor, and it's just an abyss. And you're like, I could literally just, if I slipped, like I'm dead. I'm done for. It's crazy. Yeah,
that's how it was for us. We were there's an old abandoned skyscraper in Dayton, Ohio. Same situation. Looking down that elevator shaft was terrifying.
Yeah, but you like gotta peek. You gotta
gotta see. Yeah, you gotta check.
It's like a scary movie or like a car wreck. You just can't look away from it as badly as you want to. So crazy. Can you tell me your scariest exploration story?
Scariest. Let's see. Well, anytime you're running from crackheads in Detroit, that's probably the scariest it's going to get because you don't know what you're up against. But uh, we did an explore. It was an old abandoned school. Recently, too, within the last month or two, we were in an abandoned school, one way in, one way out, no way, and there was no other exits. It was like one window to crawl through. We got cornered in there by basically a gang of crackheads, homeless people who were living in there, but just crazy guys who were chasing us through the building. And we got
Jesus.
lucky enough to skirt past them somehow and get out that window and just take off for the car, across the field. But that was a tense 20 minutes. It seemed like
Wow.
hours, but it was a tense 20 minutes, I would say. Because
Yeah.
they were yelling and screaming. They were coming for us. They wanted our stuff.
Fuck.
Yeah, it was in Flint, Michigan.
Ah.
So
Shocking.
Yep. Good times.
Oh my God, dude.
So
That's insane. I mean, I've heard some crazy stories, but a gang of crackheads, that's pretty up there.
there were probably 5 of them.
Whoo,
Yep.
buddy. Damn, that's nuts. Oh my God. So after that experience, like, can you talk about like the next time you went exploring, like how, like, did you go into it like with a different mentality, or like were you just like, that was just that incident, it was isolated kind of thing?
Yeah,
Or did you take anything from it?
Well, I mean, we're always careful as we can. We always try to have a plan B or plan C and plan D in place just in case, because you never know. It was just one of those things where we just have to, this time of year, especially because people are starting to come back out of the shelters or they're starting to live in the buildings again. You just have to be on your toes because you don't know, and I guess that was just us letting our guard down over the winter and being used to nobody being there. This is a place we'd
Right.
been before, so we knew the building, but never with anybody in it. So,
Yeah.
at least we weren't in a
What's
place
it
we
like
didn't
to,
know.
yeah, what's it like to go back to places like multiple times and kind of watch them decay over the years?
Interesting. And sometimes sad. There have been multiple churches I've been to where even in the space of a year, it's gone from fairly pristine to just destroyed. I'm sure you've seen the same thing. Vandals, all
Yeah.
the kids come in and trash the place for a TikTok video, that kind of stuff.
No kidding.
Detroit's got a lot. Yeah, as soon as a church opens in Detroit, within weeks, it's scrapped. It's toast. So it's sad. It's kind of sad to see. If it's natural decay, then that's interesting to see that. If you can find a place that nobody kind of knows about, it's kind of off the beaten path where you can come back every now and again. That tends to go a little slower. But if you can take shots every couple of months, you can kind of see the progression. But yeah.
Yeah, that is the sad part about what we do and what we love, is that it gets destroyed oftentimes over like a quick period of time. Usually, you know, if somebody posts a spot on IG or TikTok or whatever, like within days, it could be fucked.
Fucked is the good word.
I mean, it's the
That's being
downside
nice
of
about
social
it, too.
media.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And
That's the
I want to
downside.
say it's been worse the past couple of years with COVID because everybody got bored.
Yeah.
And people were
Yep.
like, oh, well, urban exploring sounds cool. Let's go try that. And they didn't have the same mentality as most of us have, right? Where we're going to shoot and to explore and to just, come and see it and then leave. These people are coming to destroy the place. They're coming to get their kicks out. So
Exactly.
we've run into that
Yeah.
before. We've chased some kids out of buildings for that.
As you should, man.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, they're usually kids from the suburbs, high school kids from the suburbs who've got nothing else to do. They're not the locals
Absolutely.
usually.
Right.
Causing the trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, take me into your most dangerous or your riskiest exploration.
All right. Well, let's see here. How can I talk about this without giving the place away? It was a power plant. A power plant. I will say that it is in the Rust Belt. That's all I'll say. It's a power plant in the Rust Belt. It still had power. It was not abandoned. It was shuttered. So it had power. And the thing is, my career, I'm a teacher. I teach. So I got to be real careful what I do because wrong move and I'm done. So we went into this place with a friend of ours who had been there. And you want to talk about tense. I mean, you literally could have probably, stuck a lump of coal up my rear end and it would have come out a diamond by the end. It was like that. It was great. It was amazing. There was lots of cool stuff to see in there, but the whole time you're just waiting for someone to show up. Like every corner you were waiting for a security guard to come busting in or the cops to show up. No security on on premises, though. Oddly enough, they had decoy cars there. That was it. No
Okay.
cameras, no nothing. Just the power was on. All the controls were on red. They probably could have started it
Whoa.
up in a couple days had they come in to get it going. I mean, it was in almost pristine condition. So, but
Unreal.
yeah, but that was a tense one. That was a long 3 hours that we were there.
Yeah, yeah, shuttered places, like places that aren't abandoned, that are just shut, temporarily or whatever, for whatever reason, are definitely a little bit more crazy to explore, just because, like you said, you never know who's going to show up or what's going to happen, who's going to come through the door. I mean, I did an amusement park in Denver,
Okay.
and like outside of Denver, and we show up, we like sneak in the back, whatever, because we thought it was abandoned, right? And we get up towards the actual entrance of the place because we're like trying to walk over to the roller coasters. All of a sudden, this dude comes walking out with like a case of toilet paper, and he's like, "Well, what are you guys doing here?" And we were like, we thought this place was abandoned." And he's like, "No, we're just closed because of COVID. Like,
Oh,
we don't
man.
know if we'll be able to open again." But
Right.
no, we're still like a functioning theme park, but a section of it was abandoned. It was like the
Okay.
old part of the theme park.
Gotcha.
So that's what we saw, and we just assumed the place was abandoned. He was like, "Nope, we're just closed for COVID."
Yeah, that's always the worst when you run into somebody and they're like, "Why are you here?"
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, "Well,"
Well, yeah, you really have to pull something out your rear end.
exactly. Like, "Oh, sorry, we just thought, whatever." But we didn't get in trouble for that. He was just like, "Yeah, you guys got to leave,"
Yeah,
and we were
get
like,
outta
"All
here.
right, no worries." Like,
That
we're
happened to
out.
us at a church
Peace.
in Detroit as well. We thought it was abandoned, and we went in and we busted down some some boards, and we're in this place taking pictures, and the keys to the door start jiggling. I'm like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me!" And luckily, it wasn't the owner; it was a worker who had just gotten there. They were renovating the place apparently, and he's like, "You guys
Oh,
got to get out of here. The owner's on his way." So we're like, it was like Scooby Doo. Our feet just went, rapid fire out the door, like gone. Um,
well,
that was my first my first dealing with something like that. That was kind of an eye opener.
oh,
Always
for sure.
always qualify the place you're going into before you do it. You know,
Yes, definitely. And
so
do you have a favorite exploration overall?
oh god, that's a tough one. I don't know if I'd consider it an exploration because everybody knows about it, but Graffiti Pier out at in Philly is pretty amazing.
Hmm.
I love walking around there any time of the year. It doesn't matter. Um, my favorite, man, that's a tough one. Um, I would have to say one of my favorite places of all time is probably the Cadillac stamping plant in Detroit. That's gone. They just tore it down
Oh,
last year. It was
yeah.
huge, and it was just one of those places you went. Like if the day wasn't going well, that was your kind of like your go to, and you could spend hours, and you'd always find something new. And it was just huge. So I would say it would be my favorite place to go and explore.
Yeah.
Kind of cliche. Everybody goes there, or everybody went there, but that's where we would go.
Yeah, I
But
was going to say that's like a legacy spot.
yeah. I'm trying to think what else would be bigger than that. I mean, I have a couple different spots that are like dead on. Those are the spots trying to think. Well, we do have a place in my neck of the woods. It's got I'm not going to say the place's name, but it's got
Sure.
two elevated tracks with cabooses on them. It's an old
Wow.
steel mill that you can get to. That's really cool. It's getting
Oh,
tagged up
man.
tagged up pretty bad now, but it's a cool place. I think that's one of my favorites, just because it's so big.
Yeah,
You
the
know?
big ones are like always the craziest to me. Like I said the other day, we did this hospital, and it was like a whole city block,
Yeah,
right? Parking garages, two main buildings, psych wards. Like we were only there for like 2.5 hours before we saw some cops, and we were like, we should probably leave now.
yeah,
But I mean, other than that, man, I will go back to that place. Like I will absolutely be going back to that place because there's like kind of a fence outside, but there's no doors, so you can literally just walk like around the fence and just go inside. It was
yeah.
insane.
It
Just
blows your
open.
mind how the owners never notice that, right? The people who have
Yeah,
the security never happens to notice that there's holes in the fence. I never figured that out, but not that I'm
yeah,
complaining, but
sure, of course.
but
Open fences or open doors, open invitations.
you would think that they would notice that and handle that, but
Exactly.
they don't.
Yep. Not a priority for them, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, well, I guess you already answered this. I was going to ask what you do when you're not exploring abandoned places, but you said you teach.
I against my better judgment, I teach seventh grade history. So this year's been insane. So this has been
Sure.
kind of exploring has been kind of my sanity, like my place to go
Mm,
and forget about all that for a while. Um, it's
absolutely.
not been fun this year. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
And
I enjoy
do
it
you
most of the
prefer
time.
to Oh, that's good. Yeah, I love that. I mean, teaching is such a special thing, and especially history. Like, talk about history. Like, do you research the places you go into before or after? And can you talk about like your favorite history of a place?
Yeah, I mean, usually, and the sad thing is though, it's hard. It's hard to post a lot of that history
Sure.
because it can be backtracked and people will find the. It's
Yep.
I don't know. It's the places that are kind of open and if everybody knows about. Yeah, I'll research and put that out there. But um, as far as my favorite history, it's going to have to be back to Detroit. The place is just full of history. Like, that's one of my most favorite places to go. It's just an amazing city, not just for the abandoned stuff, but just all around. Detroit gets a bad rap in a lot of ways,
Mm,
but I would say the Packard plant there's got the most history. That's the place is amazing. It's
yeah.
huge, and it's going to get torn down soon. They're trying to tear it down, so we got to get back in there one more time. But
Yeah.
we're
Same.
talking like 6, 7 city blocks worth of factory, 5 stories.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just
I
a
haven't
lot of
had
stuff
the
happened there over the years. A lot of stuff's gone down there.
right. Yeah, I haven't had the pleasure of seeing it, but I know about it. Obviously, like I
Oh,
feel like everybody knows about that place. And my band's about to go on tour, and we play up in Michigan, and I'm trying to do some stuff in Detroit while I'm there. Like if I have time, it'd be sick to be able to meet up with a couple people and just explore. Like Unseen Detroit. I had him on the podcast. I
okay,
would love to
yeah,
do some stuff with him. And try to get out and see some stuff while I'm up there, even though I'll be there for like a day. But I mean,
yeah,
if I can explore while I'm on tour, fuck it. Like, let's
right.
go.
Well, and the sad thing is, a lot of the best stuff up there is coming down this summer. Like they have like 3 or 4
Sure.
places in their crosshairs right now. Packer
Dang.
plant's coming down. The old Detroit ferry terminal is coming down, which
Hmm.
is an amazing industrial. Um, Tons of graffiti and pieces that go back like 20 years. Um, the AMC headquarters is coming down. They want to convert Fisher Body Plant into apartments. I mean, it's all
Damn.
yeah. They're going nuts. The mayor hates urban explorers. Hates them.
Clearly.
Yeah, Duggan is not a
Man.
fan.
Yeah.
But
And do you have goal places, like bucket list items that you're dying to explore?
I still want to get down to New Orleans. That's one of my places I have
Yes.
on my bucket list for sure. Um, it's just money and time to get down there. That's the
Yep.
problem. That amusement park's not going to be there forever. And I know
No.
everybody's gone to see it and everybody wants to see that, but that's like one of those things. That's like that's the cross off. The
Yep.
Mercy Hospital down there. There's a power plant. This
Yes.
all this stuff. I got to see that before it's gone. That's
Absolutely.
on my
Yeah.
bucket list. I'm trying to think where else. Um, some of the psych hospitals on the East Coast. We don't have a lot of those in Ohio, so none that are explorable anymore. But I would love to get out there and see some of those before those are getting torn down. Like seems like every week you see something new getting torn down. So
Hmm.
I want to get out there and hit those. But those are the big ones.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, I feel you 100%. Like psych wards, asylums, like those are probably the top of my list. I love asylums. There's just
Yeah.
something about that, the darkness of the history, especially, old asylums. I mean, the reason we shut them mostly was because of that stuff, that
Yeah.
dark history that took place there. But it's so fascinating to walk those halls where so many people were. And so like I've even had people email me like my dad was a patient there, or like I was a patient there,
Yeah.
or I worked there. Like those kind of situations when you get like messages, DMs, emails, like that kind of thing, just people that like have experience with those places. I think for me, that's like the most special part about this is getting the messages from people that were actually there, because it kind of just puts things together more.
Yeah. I get that a lot from the schools we hit in Detroit. Some of the high schools, they have alumni that go back, over 100 years. So you'll get people
Sure.
oh, that was where I went to school, and oh my god, I can't believe it looks like that. So it's kind of sad, but I mean, you're glad that they could see it one more time.
Sure.
Um, Oddly enough, the auditoriums seem to last longer than the rest of the building. So
Yeah.
the rest of the buildings
It
are
is
trash,
interesting.
but the auditoriums are almost pristine in a lot of places. It's weird.
Huh. That is fascinating.
So
So, if you could live in one abandoned place you've explored for an entire week, which place would it be?
oh man, At one point, I would have said Crescent Prison out in Pennsylvania, but now that that's like no longer totally abandoned, it's owned by somebody now. Probably not there. I would say, God, I got to think about that. Probably Kings Park out in Long Island.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
could probably spend a week exploring that place with all the tunnels
Sure.
out there. So why not?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But
And then, what do you hope for the future of urban exploring?
honestly, I'm hoping it kind of dies down as a fad for a lot of
Mm.
the people who aren't in it for real exploration reasons. The people who are just in it to just get the video and get the clicks and get that. I'm kind of hoping it dies down so that the people who are actually into it for exploring and photography can like enjoy it again without people, places getting destroyed within weeks and that kind of thing. You know, um,
Yeah.
I honestly think that's why so many places are getting boarded up, sealed up, torn down, is because this huge influx of people. You know,
Mm.
like I love that there are people that get interested in it and do it, but they aren't always the best at keeping secrets. You know,
Yeah.
but it's kind of what I hope. And that's the thing. Most of these places are going. Once they're gone, we're going to have like Walmarts. That's the next tier of things to explore when those go abandoned. That's no fun.
Yep.
So I'm kind of hoping that it dies down so some of these older places kind of go back to being more, low key, behind the scenes places.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that kind of goes across the board. Most of the people I've asked that question to kind of hope for the same thing. And I think, that shows like how strong this community is, like the real ones that are in it for the love of exploration, for the love of photography, that aren't trying to just destroy shit. Like,
Yeah.
I think that really shows that we have high hopes for this, but we all want it to kind of go back to where it was a little bit. Like you said, I think COVID had a huge part to play in that because people were bored and had nothing to do. And I just talked to somebody recently that lives up in Baltimore, and he has been going to like Forest Haven Asylum for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to explore it a couple of years ago, but he was saying like during COVID, like so many people were going, just like there were just like families wandering around in the buildings.
Yeah.
Like what? It's crazy. It used to be so stealthy and secret, and now everyone's just like, well, I'm just gonna go saunter over to this building and check it out. Like, what are you talking about?
We found that too. We last winter we explored an abandoned ski resort up in northern Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
Traverse City, and nobody up there. But halfway through the day, there were families started showing up and were like wandering around the premises with kids. We're like, okay, well, are they going to get us in trouble, or are they here to explore? We didn't know. It was just bizarre to
Right.
have little kids in a place where they shouldn't ever be.
Yeah.
Right. So that was kind of a surprise. I'd never expected that to
That's
happen.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I would never bring
What
my
a
kid
wild.
to an abandoned building. That would never happen.
Sure. Yeah, like what are you thinking? Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's actually insane. But I mean, yeah, people are doing it like no regard for safety. Like it's mostly uneducated people that don't know anything about the hobby or anything about abandoned places in the state that they're in usually. Like
Yeah.
you're trying to bring a kid into a place that probably has asbestos that's
And
going to
glass.
destroy their lungs, glass, nails,
Yeah.
holes,
Yeah.
all the shit that we, take the risk to go do.
And even
But
the most
yeah,
careful
kids
of
should
us
not be there.
get injured sometimes. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
I don't get it either.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what is something you know now that you wish you knew when you started exploring?
But I know now that you have to be careful who you associate with, and you can't be friends with everybody because there are a lot of toxic people out there who are downright just nasty. Like if you don't give them what they want, or if you don't give in to whatever it is, they will drag you through the mud. To be careful of who you associate with, who you talk to, who you ask to go out with you. Like I usually vet the people I go out with, not seriously, but I get to know them a little bit and kind of get feelers for them, before we go out, because I've gotten burned a few times. And there are some nasty personalities out there
100%.
who will start like all out wars on your good name just because you didn't give them a spot, or you shot someplace that they have already shot, something like that. Stuff that I expect from my 7th graders. Stuff that they do. That's the kind of stuff I expect from them. But from grown adults, from grown people who are doing this. So that's probably I would have been more careful in the beginning of who. Instead of just saying, "Oh yeah, you want to go? I'll go out with you."
Right.
I hate that that's the case, but it is what it is.
Man, that's the honest truth. I mean, I agree. You got to be careful who you trust in this game. It's not always going to be the nicest people. I've heard some horror stories, like some absolutely terrible stories of things that have happened to people and things that people are doing to other people. And, I just opened up my email for like listener submissions to like submit their stories if they don't want to come on the show, but they have a story to share. So I'm going to start like reading off of these emails from people's submissions. And, I'm sure it's going to be some crazy stuff, but I feel like it's stuff that needs to be talked about. I love this community so much, and there's so many amazing people in it, but there's also some bad shit that needs to be talked about, So I feel like because I have this platform and people like the show and people listen to the show, I feel like I have a responsibility to protect people as well, so.
Yeah. I mean, I had a friend who was basically set up for an arson that he wasn't even anywhere near for when it happened. These kids set him up for it. He got in trouble for it. The city of Detroit busted him for something he wasn't even there for. He did a video at this place like months before, and they decided to palm it on him. And these kids were like, "Oh yeah, it was him." And so he had to get a lawyer and everything.
Wow.
So he was out of the game for a little while. It was not a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Shit. So thank you for coming on the podcast. Like, I appreciate you taking the time and sharing these stories with everybody. If people want to keep following your journey into decay and abandonment, where can they find you online?
Well, I'm at Mr. P Explores on Instagram. That's Mr.P_Explores. And then on Facebook, just at Mr. P Explores. That's where I be. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
That was my episode with Mr. P Explores. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of No Tracers, the podcast. If you're into the show, if you like it, hit that subscribe button. And if you really liked it, do me a favor and leave a rating and feedback on Apple Podcasts. Take a screenshot of it and send it to me at no.tracers on Instagram. And I will actually send you a signed photo print of an abandoned place that I've explored as a way of saying thank you for supporting the podcast. I appreciate you guys so very much. Check out the links down in the description if you're looking for urban exploring gear and you like Amazon. That's where the links go to. It's Amazon products. So it's stuff that I would recommend and stuff some of my guests have recommended over the years of doing this podcast. Thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you next week with another one. Stay strong, keep enduring, go out, go explore something, and remember, leave no trace.